well, I died. I died, and you're probably wondering. How? Well, honest to God, it's not really any of your business. It's just not really any of anybody's business about how I died. But I lived, and that's what matters. Hello, everybody. We're back again. Just came back from an RCA meeting where we talked about the Cuba document that you and I are going to be talking about on Sunday. Damn, those guys are smart. I could not keep up with the discussion this week at all, mostly because I couldn't keep up with the article at all. I read that thing like 3 or 4 times, and none of the information was sticking in my head. I was sitting in the discussion, and we were discussing it, and I was like, none of this stuff is really hitting, you know. I'm gonna give it another read tomorrow night, and then on Sunday we'll be back again, so I can actually talk about it with you guys, hopefully. God in heaven. But hello! It's me! It's me! It's me! It's me! We're playing Suzerain. Let me get the funny video game up on the fucking screen. Look at the video game up on the screen. That's right, you and me. Because I'm sorry to say, guys, nobody's coming to save us. All those well-put-together people, all the people who have their lives in order, all the people with all the money, they aren't going to save you. You know? If they were, they wouldn't be out there making a ton of money, because that's what they're doing. So it's just us. It's just you and me. We're going to have to save ourselves. And I know that's a lot to ask. I promise you, it won't be as much when you really get down to brass tacks. Alright, what the fuck were we doing? Me? That's right. That's right. It's just us. I think we're on turn 7? Yeah, we're on turn 7 because I looked ahead, and the first thing we're supposed to do is remove the Golcondism blasphemy law, which is very funny. Very funny. Game day. That's right. Oh my god, we're rolling in fucking power, dude! I was having a hell of a time getting some damn energy in my country. For an energy superpower, I was having a hell of a time getting it across. But alright, let's see where we are. We got a lot of news, a lot of documentation going through on the start of turn 7 here. Let's see what the deal is. Unruly mob disrupts peace in Isa. The peace in Isa was disrupted yesterday yet again when an unruly mob of protesters convened on the streets, voicing petty grievances against His Majesty Rhombus Taurus, as well as their rightful Duke Ricardus. This latest event was a stark reminder of the Brennus Provincial Police Force's persistent soft approach since their installment in the city, a stance that is increasingly viewed as undermining the respect for law and order. It has been argued that the force's ongoing leniency emboldens dissenters and erodes the public's respect for their established institutions. The Herald questions the wisdom of the Brennus Police's continued tolerance in the face of such demonstrations, especially contrasted with their hardline approach towards patriotic groups like Su Omnia, whose counter-protest on the same day was brutally quashed. Trump is here. Hello, Nuggets. Hello, Nugget Cat Squad. What's up? You're playing Roblox, Cherry? Hell yeah. What are you playing? Chaos reigns on the streets of Isa. We're talking about Isa again. Isa is the only thing in the news, man. Isa is the only thing in the news. The city of Isa continues to be a hotbed of violence, with daily outbreaks of violence primarily instigated by unruly elements among students and migrant workers. These clashes, often targeted the nationalist group Su Omnia, have created a climate of unrest and fear among the city's law-abiding citizens. A significant contributor to the local police force, which finds itself stretched thin in the face of escalating confrontations, the police, despite their best efforts, are struggling to maintain order as they face an unprecedented level of defiance and aggression from certain segments of the population. Meanwhile, Su Omnia, known for its patriotic stance and commitment to the city's well-being, has been unfairly targeted by those who seek to sow discord and undermine Isa's stability. Whoa! We call upon the city authorities and national government to take the stronger action against these elements that threaten the fabric of our society. Ooh. You don't like Trump? Oh, I see, Nugget. Gotcha, man. Well, I like your PFP. A Graham game? This is very funny, Cherry. Is it... Let me guess. It's a horror game. Hello, Nafis. Patriots take the streets in Isa. Again, 3 of these articles are about Isa, and they're talking about the same thing. Who is writing these? We have to kill them. I'm the king, I will kill them. Resisting a national climate that increasingly punishes patriotism, the civic volunteer organization Su Omnia took to the streets of Easy yesterday in a peaceful protest that was tolerated by local law enforcement. Despite calls for a ban on the organization by locals, their numbers appear stronger than ever as they march through the town chanting, "We will not be replaced." A concluding demonstration in front of Ricardus Torres Palace featured a guest speech by the Duke himself, who praised the group for its efforts. The Power of Riza exhibition, art, or propaganda. It's not a horror game. Hello, Lady Marianne. Not a horror game is crazy. The recently unveiled photography exhibition, The Power of Riza, has stirred debate among art enthusiasts and critics alike. While the artist, a contractor stationed near one of the kingdom's key power plants, claims to celebrate the resilience of the nation's workers, many see the collection as thinly veiled propaganda. The exhibition fixates on the grit and machinery of power generation rather than the workers themselves. This raises questions about the photographer's true intentions and the value behind this artistic endeavor. Indeed, that sounds like propaganda to me. Can I be your friend? Sure. Wayland deploying special forces to Vernon. Raklowitz Wayland. President Schmolak has announced the city of Vernon has been put under curfew, along with several other towns in the northeast of the country. The Wezhik army has deployed special trained military forces to combat. That's not right. The militant organization known as the Bloodish Freedom Front. Wayland has increased its efforts in fighting terrorism with aerial campaigns and ground operations targeting BFF militants and their hidden bases. This operation will surely have consequences for the region, particularly for the neighboring countries of Lesbia, Rumburg, and particularly Swordland, which is a large population of Bloodish people living inside its borders. Interesting. Wayland owns Zeal at the current moment. What? Let's see. Benivon, a Rushist sanctuary, welcomes its first devotees. Very good. That's on the opening days. Mild drop in tax revenue. Really? What is my tax revenue right now? Inheritance tax is up 2. Income tax is 3 right now. National income tax revenue has dipped slightly, according to the data from National Statistics Office in the capital. The slowdown is linked to reduced consumer activity and underperformance in certain industries. Indeed. More gas connects Rizia and Morella. As part of the ever-growing trade relations between the two countries, the newly constructed Moor gas pipeline opens between Port-Trezon and Cavet. In an opening ceremony held in border town of Point Dart, officials from both countries shook hands and celebrated the momentous occasion. I don't know what that's supposed to be powering, but I don't see it on the energy. Oh, it's Morella gas exports. I see. I'm exporting Morella gas. I see. Alright, so first things first, let's follow the thing. Remove Golcondis blasphemy law. That seems simple enough. I think that's a welfare. Or is it a religion? Remove Golcondis blasphemy law. Nobody likes that shit, dude. Embarking on a path towards spiritual inclusivity, the kingdom is granting Golcondis unrestricted access to pivotal religious sites, such as the arch sanctuaries of Plavo, Benevon, and jails. While this shift is likely to be welcomed by Dardians and other Golcondists dwelling in Rizia, it may also raise concerns within the Dasnurist and mainstream Rushist communities. Moreover, the diplomatic waves may reach Wayland, which might view this policy change with skepticism or apprehension, possibly influencing bilateral relations. Ooh, that's a big one. That's a big one, dude. Golcondists to receive access to holy sites. You enjoy listening, Nugget? Gotcha. All good, man. To promote religious harmony between all denominations of Rushism and do away with the tensions and petty squabblings, His Majesty has announced that he will be repealing the blasphemy laws against Golcondis believers. In practice, this allows Golcondis access to our holy sites, finally resolving a point of tension that has lasted decades. I'm currently doing a theocracy run, so sorry if it's a little on the religious side. Dardia has already voiced its approval for the measure, and although Wayland has voiced its skepticism, we can only encourage more interreligious dialogue between different branches of the Nurist faith. Excellent. What is that? Repeal. Unrestricted access to Golcondis places of worship. Sanctuary to tax cuts for religious people. Tax cuts for religious organizations. Sanctuary tax cuts for religious people. Non-Ruchist religious tax. That's funny. Sanctuary tax cuts for religious people. I think that's tax cuts for religious organizations, I'm gonna say. The kingdom decrees tax reductions for unregistered religious organizations to support their continued service to the community. This financial relief is intended to allow these organizations to focus on their charitable work and spiritual leadership without financial strain. The decree aims to strengthen religious institutions across the kingdom, ensuring their long-term stability and contribution to society. Okie doke, that's tax cuts. Jail's Golcondism Sanctuary. Oh, we're building sanctuaries, folks. We're building... With Jail's Golcondism Sanctuary, the kingdom decrees the establishment of the Golcondism Sanctuary and jails. Yale. I think it's Yales. Nelsavar Rusish Sanctuary. Good. And of course, the Argno Das Nurist Sanctuary. Very good. We do be building the religious sanctuaries, don't we, folks? Alright. A new sanctuary for the faithful, Sanctuary of Thought, rises in Nelvasar. New sanctuary for discipline and devotion, and ensuring stability for religious institutions. The reinstatement of tax reductions for registered religious organizations, reaffirming the Crown's commitment to supporting faith-based institutions in their service to the people. This measure ensures that places of worship can continue their charitable work, maintain their sacred sites, and contribute to the well-being of local communities. Religious leaders across the kingdom have welcomed the decision, citing the relief as essential to sustaining their efforts in education, outreach, and spiritual guidance. Officials emphasize that this decree reflects His Majesty's wisdom of a balanced and prosperous society in which faith remains a pillar of cultural and social strength. Am I a Christian? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. I am not a Christian. I am an atheist. I just thought it'd be fun to do a theocracy run. Hey, Asher, what's up? Alright, invite Sal to the House of Delegates. Sue Omnia. Dardian diplomatic visit. Well, I mean, yeah. Supreme Wiseman Yorga Asmal of Dardia has indicated that he is open to the possibility of a diplomatic visit from Rizia, the silver garrison above Nail. We would have the opportunity to discuss and potentially improve relations between the two nations. He requests that we be accompanied by our kingdom's most important Ruchist figure, Sal Ignatius. Of course. We do want to begin planning a visit. Sue Omnia undermines civil enforcement. I don't think there's a poll here. Unless I'm at the wrong thing, which I am not. Oh, sorry, Asher. Sue Omnia's presence and policing operations have grown more visible. They assist with arrests, issue warnings, and conduct patrols under their own banners. While some praise their discipline, others report intimidation and overreach. Local forces increasingly defer to members rather than coordinate with them. Our forces will hold them to account. Nourished Republic of Dardia is now at neutral relations with us. Waylon is at friendly. Morella is at friendly. And Pales is at neutral. Good, very good indeed. Lesbia is at unfriendly. San Velol. Wish this coin wasn't here so I could see which city they were talking about. Raklowitz. Introduce religion to the House of Delegates. Religion has been playing more of a part in Rizian daily life and government affairs. As such, you have the option to change the traditional protocol at the House of Delegates by inviting Grand Wiseman Sal Ignatius to take part. Indeed. We're getting religious on it. There's religion in my neutral Golcondism community, happy Ruchist community. King expands on tradition, invites Grand Wiseman to House of Delegates. House of Delegates visit. Ruchist clergy ask for extra budget. Don't support any organ zeal. Alright, here we go. Oh god, it's serious, dude. Listen to how serious that shit is. What's more, I took my seat next to Hugo in the middle of the House of Delegates. My uncle watched calmly as the representatives began filling into the room. I don't see any many fresh faces. It's a relief that the RPP didn't manage to make any gains over last time. Perhaps Mana Saison's charisma is wearing off. One can only hope. A gavel banged. Daria de Rava, positioned behind the House Speaker podium, put the wooden mallet aside. Alright, Nugget, if you're singing the Jurassic Park theme song, which dance are you doing? Which Fortnite dance are you doing to the Jurassic Park theme song? Me personally, I'm low cortisol posting on the Jurassic Park theme song. I call this meeting of the House of Delegates to order. She bowed in my direction. Thank you for coming, Your Majesty. Manus nodded his assent from his usual place behind the opposition podium. Daria looked down at her notes with a smile. At His Majesty's request, Grand Wiseman Ignatius will open today's session with a short prayer. Oh god. All the delegates' eyes followed Sal as he rose from the back row of seats and slowly walked to the center of the room. Standing between Manus and Daria, he opened his arms wide. Dearest brothers and sisters, as we gather here today, we call upon the spirit of Saint Ruick and the guiding of the divine. May the great nerve bestow upon us the clarity of mind and purity of intent necessary to serve our people with honor and integrity. We pray for the courage to face our challenges and the wisdom to choose paths that lead to prosperity and peace for our kingdom. God bless this assembly and God bless our sovereign king. He lowered his arms. Halalaita. Halaita. The delegates murmured the word as well. Sal shuffled back to his seat. Daria waited until the Grand Wiseman sat down before continuing. Yes, thank you, Grand Wiseman. We will not forget the role of God in these halls. She flipped open a binder on her podium. The first item on our agenda is an update on Zeal. My constituents are eagerly awaiting the end of the Zeal Agreement's 3-year probationary period and the return of our land. However, I've been fielding concerns that Rizia's so-called Golcondist border ban is damaging certain lucrative international relationships. Essentially, it threatens to estrange Rizia's Golcondist community, precisely at the moment we are making progress to integrate them into our society. I will say that the process of granting rights to Weshiks has been far from frictionless. It's a matter of consistency, Madam Speaker. It was a mistake to fully integrate Weshik citizens while restricting rights for other migrant groups. Thankfully, the trade deal seems to be proceeding as planned. If and when the territory is finally returned, there are questions about how it will be reincorporated into Rizia. Manus put up a hand. Objection! What questions? Zeal has always been a part of the province of Brennus. That may be true, but in the interest of stability, reincorporating it under the Rizia's imperialized jurisdiction is the obvious choice. It is the same reason why the Pales Administrative District has not yet rejoined Cardes Monteclar. That decision was due to ongoing border conflicts, as we have experienced extremely recently. Zeal faces no such danger. Never Be Alone, a FNAF lore song. I have played the first FNAF game, I never beat it. My daughter always tries to get me to play FNAF, so... one of these days. How could you say that after the Friendship Day incident? There's no telling that what Weshik will do, even if Zeal is returned without a fight. At this stage, Wayland will not want to risk damaging our agreement, and if they do, my province can handle it. The volume in the room grew louder as the delegates began arguing among themselves. I turned to Hugo. Look at them, squabbling away like a bunch of children. You really needn't come to these sessions, Your Majesty. Eventually, Daria motioned for order. The delegates quieted down. Moving on to more pressing topics. Next on the agenda was a discussion regarding the current religious climate in Rizia. I must bring His Majesty's attention to the aftermath of our lifting the Golcondist blasphemy law. Naturally, the sudden acceptance of Dardian and the Bludge worshippers in our sacred arch sanctuaries has caused chaos within the Ruchist community. At the corner of my eye, I saw Hugo nod emphatically. Admittedly, it has helped soften the backlash against our border ban on natives of those countries. However, the general public remains worried about the growing legitimization of this extremist sect, especially ahead of Rizzi's upcoming diplomatic visit to Dardia. There are concerns about giving too much credence to Golcondist beliefs. Golcondist are Rushists like any other. Their beliefs are as valid as yours or mine. Our respected religious leaders would beg to disagree, including the Grand Wiseman. I warned you, Your Majesty. The delegates turned to look at Sal. By accepting Golcondist worshippers, we have opened the door to darkness. Thank you, Grand Wiseman. Finally, it is imperative that we discuss the growing millennialist movement within Rizia. We are seeing an uptick in pamphlets and other propaganda from Vogsland and United Catania. We have received reports of covert gatherings where revolution is discussed. Madam Speaker, I must point out that this movement is protesting the existing inequalities within Rizian society. Work to address those, and millennialist revolution will no longer be a threat here. Do not be naive, Mr. Suzerain. This is obviously the work of foreign agents seeking to destabilize us. The Red Menace is not going to touch us here in Rizia. That's simply not true, Your Majesty. The East and its allies have their sights trained on all monarchies, including us. We can beat back the millennialist threat by doing more to support the beating heart of this country, its employers and landowners. They've already begun to lose faith in the crown in the wake of certain royal decrees. It would behoove us not to offend them any further. Please, Madam Speaker. Living standards among the lower class are worse than ever. We cannot forget that we serve the people of Rizia. To lose their allegiance is to lose hope. I don't recall asking you for your input, Mr. Suzerain. She turned to look at me. My party, which I will remind you is the majority party in Rizia, has already suggested a number of proposals to strengthen our kingdom and quell the unrest. It's our hope His Majesty will enact them. Very good. I'll have another look over them. That is all we ask. Daria closed her binder and looked up. That concludes today's session, unless of course His Majesty had any closing remarks. I would like Grand Wiseman Ignatius to conclude our session with a prayer. Good night, Nugget. Thanks for stopping in, man. It'll be an honor, Your Majesty. Once more, Sal walked over to the stand between the two House speakers. This time, he took each one by the hand. My beloved delegates, do not let our differences prevent you from recognizing the divine in each other. Remember, we are but one people, watching over this kingdom by the great grace of our God, duty-bound to carry his troops into the mortal realm. I like that. I like that. Hugo and everyone else in the room repeated the word after me. My uncle and I remained seated as the session adjourned. Any thoughts on today's session, Your Grace? Baroness Durava is handling the house as capably as ever, but a certain opposition speaker is getting a little too confident for comfort. He kept his eyes on the delegates as they left the hall. Having said that, I do trust his assessment of the public's opinion. It is consistent with what I've been hearing. He picked up his attaché case and paused to look at me. It's been a while since the two of us caught up. I hope you'll do me the honor of paying me a private visit once you're back on your trip from Dardia. The honor would be mine, Your Grace. Hugo rose and bowed. Until then, Your Majesty. I stayed in my seat until the room was completely empty. Was Daria right? Was my public happy with my reign? If she was, where would I go from here? Prisoner's death, a cautionary tale. A 33-year-old man was found beaten to death in a cell in Monkey prison this week. Ooh. The deceased was identified as Mateus Montalvo, a courier for the Contuavo vineyards. Montalvo had recently been dismissed from his job and subsequently jailed after engaging in suspected homosexuality activities with a client. Oof. Ah, hey Asher, what's up? This unfortunate incident highlights the strict moral codes Rizia upholds and serves as a grim reminder of the consequences of straying from societal norms. This tragedy, though sorrowful, reaffirms the necessity for all citizens to live by the principles that have long protected and guided over our great nation. Rizia and Dardia, the Golden Kingdom meets the Silver Garrison. Indeed. Let's see, Crown budget is strained. Finance officials have noted a growing imbalance in trade expenditure. More Crown funds are being allocated to procure key materials and goods from outside the country. Domestic production isn't meeting demand, and the gap is beginning to reflect in Treasury reports. I don't know how you figure. Local domestic production must increase soon. Was the ass supposed to be pretending to be scared? Yeah, Asher, I think so. Rushist clergy ask for extra budget. The clergy pledges loyalty to the crown. Request significant tithes. Rushist clergy from across the region have gathered in Velenquir for a great convocation, filling the city's largest sanctuary halls and public spaces with prayers and hymns. The spiritual leaders have declared their allegiance to the monarchy, urging their followers to stand firm in their faith and loyalty. The streets are lined with banners bearing holy symbols. And the mood is one of solemn reverence as thousands look to the crown for guidance. Give me some money, dude. Give me some money. Alright, Russia's clergy is done. Ask for extra tithes. Don't support any organ zeal. Fund none. There's an option to intensify funding for local resistance movements against the Weshik administration in the contested zeal territory. This maneuver aims to escalate diplomatic leverage, exerting pressure for the reintegration of the zeal into the Rizian sovereignty. While increased support for the resistance could significantly sway the Weshik government's stance, it also risks destabilizing the region, potentially justifying Wayland's claim to retain zeal for national security. That will fund nothing. Okay. Send either air, naval, or tanks to Vendonesium. Would be the next one. A large protest has erupted in the working-class district of Salabas, with demonstrators demanding improvements to the country's declining living standards. The protesters are calling for higher wages, better access to housing, and improved healthcare, citing widespread poverty and growing inequality as the main drivers of their frustration. The protest, which has drawn a mix of laborers, families, and local activists, remains peaceful but is growing rapidly in size. Disperse the protesters. Disperse the protesters. Morning in the palace, the king's bedchambers. Early in the morning, I heard a soft tap at the door to my bedchambers. It was Papal, coming to wake me up from my usual time. Good morning, Your Majesty. I hope you slept well. There was a tinge of melancholy in his voice. What's going on, Papal? Are you alright? I'm fine, thanks for asking. He began drawing open my curtain, then stopped and spoke to me in a forced, casual tone. How are preparations going for your royal visit to Derdia? The Derdians and I agree on many points. Do you, Your Majesty? He paused again, as if in deliberation. Finally, he walked over to the chair next to my bed and sat down. I don't know if you're aware, but many Rizians of my persuasion have fled to Derdia since its establishment as a Golcondist republic. It's one of the only places in Mercopa where relations between members of the same sex are accepted. Would you ever move there, Papal? Only in an emergency. How am I? I'm doing okay. I'm a little tired, though. Tonight's discussion was exhausting, it seemed. The only reason Derdia allows homosexuality is because Golcondists view intimacy between men as the most sacred form of love. They say it strengthens bonds on the battlefield. As for women, as long as they accept their roles as providers and childbearers, they may consort among themselves if they wish. It's not perfect, but I understand the desire to live openly among fundamentalists rather than cower behind closed doors. Can't be that bad, Rizia, can it? His eyes darkened. You don't know the half of it. He tossed the morning paper onto my bed. Look at the bottom of the first page. Man 33, beaten to death in Monquis prison. Montalvo had recently been jailed and dismissed from his job. Did you know him? Pavel nodded, his teeth clenched. We had an encounter sometime before your coronation. Clearly neither his first nor his last. I warned him to be more careful, but until homosexuality is no longer a crime in Rizia, people like him, like me, are going to keep dying. I have the authority. I can change our kingdom's anti-homosexuality laws. It's a major step forward, I know. Not even Queen Liza dared to imagine it. But Rizia is ready now. Decriminalizing homosexuality will definitely give us an edge with Derdia, as well as the Golcondists living here in Rizia. But that's not the real reason the law should be changed. It's not just about what I want. This is a universal struggle. Think of the example you'd be setting for the rest of the world. I have a historic opportunity. I've got to seize it while I can. The sooner you do, the more lives will be saved. He stood up. I'm late to oversee breakfast. I'll have you dress yourself. I'll look into making the decree, I promise. Thank you. He bowed and swiftly left the room. After taking a moment to collect my thoughts, I dressed and headed downstairs for breakfast. Hey, Jack. What up, man? Vendonesium, I believe, is the one we're looking for. There we go. The Guild of Royal Allies. United Contania's Congress addresses State of the Union and Revolutionary Expansion. Kyo! United Contania recently hosted a massive Congress bringing together representatives from all states to address the State of the Union and discuss a significant political decision concerning the concept of permanent revolution. The Congress held in the Federation's capital featured the unique traditions and customs of various states, including Contania, Kyo, Kaidu, Zolotek, Azatl, Yurzistan, Slavaria, Chimaltenango, and Quinalta. Participants expressed pride in their heritage while demonstrating a strong sense of unity under the governance of the Communist Party, led by Chairman Leon Maleyev. During the Congress, Chairman Maleyev proposed a revolutionary destiny doctrine, a policy aimed at promoting the idea of permanent revolution and supporting social revolutions in nearby states with early-stage capitalism. Senators from each state participated in a vote to determine the future course of the nation, ultimately passing the doctrine and signaling a new era of international involvement for UC. Deepening involvement in the Vietnamese Civil War. Ate a bagel with cream cheese? Fucking delicious. Graham won't let you kill KMS? It do be like that, man. You got 95, Jack? Hell yeah, dude. I don't think I've ever gotten a 95 on a paper in my life. Hello, other Asher. Hello, double Ashers. As Vietnamese Civil War intensifies, the monarchist forces under Prince Consort Cao Sang Tam launch a major offensive against key strategic cities held by revolutionary factions. Battles in the industrial heartland of Ragkara, the port city of Penguvi, and the fortified positions in Tamarin have reached a critical stage. But the conflict's outcome hinged on these decisive confrontations. Vietnamese request for Rizian support comes at a time when intervention could significantly alter the war's trajectory. Send either air, naval, or tanks. I'd like to send a tank division. Sell 5% of the Rizian oil and gas to Rusty. Anti-intervention protest in Monkey Harbor. King stepping up military assistance to besiege monarchy. Vietnamese Civil War escalates. Rizia sent to send additional troops. Indeed. Division seized. Division-sized mobile forces. Provincial tax subsidy. And the meeting with Supreme Wiseman. Why is Supreme Wiseman Osmal? Provincial leaders are calling for tax subsidies to support local economies, each arguing their region's case. Valancourt claims agricultural hardships. Cardes Monteclar points to industrial stagnation. And Brennus highlights rising unemployment. Do not fund any province. Woof. Ooh, woof, dude. Ooh, woof. Province is left waiting as subsidies are denied. Suffer. Alright, meeting with Supreme Wiseman Osmal. This should be good, dude. I guess we have to fight and then I have to lose or some shit? Standing on the remote mountain plateau outside of Nail, the Silver Garrison was the headquarters of the Dardian government, as well as the dwelling place of its leader, Supreme Wiseman Jorga Osmal. Yorga. For our meeting today, Osmal had granted me the rare permission to enter his inner sanctum. After a lengthy drive up steep curved roads, our motorcade parked just outside of the garrison's gates, Titus and I met Sal as we exited our respective vehicles. I confess that I do not know what to expect, Your Majesty. I've studied Golcondist compounds like these excessively, but never been allowed inside. It's an honor to be amongst our Golcondist brothers and sisters. The Dardians must be happy that Rizia has adopted a more tolerant stance towards their religion. Yes, we've gone far to appease them, perhaps too far. The heavy gates swung open and a group of Osmal guards ushered us inside. The garrison's grounds were much larger than I would have guessed, almost the size of Port Drazon's old town. A gleaming silver pillar rose up from the center, surrounded by a cluster of administrative and religious buildings. Greenhouses, storage silos, and living quarters lined the perimeter, separated from the inner circle by a clear, neutral, natural stream. The first residences we saw were women, in identical white dresses drawing water from the stream and carrying baskets of vegetables to and from the greenhouses. Those are seekers, your majesty. It is said that, through their physical labor, they will gain the mental clarity they need to begin their pursuit of Golconda. May the Lord bless them and guide them on their spiritual journey. It will be a long one. Few women are ever allowed to progress past the seeker role. As the guards led us closer to the pillar, the sound of men's voices could be heard, short, sharp shouts emitted in perfect unison. The disciples. They practice purification of the spirit through strict martial arts regimens. Where are the Adeptus? Hard at work, I expect. They make up the majority of Asmal's council. We emerged into the center of the garrison. In front of the pillar was a training ground the size of a football field, flanked on either side by white marble temples. On it, some 4 men were engaged in combat drills. Titus watched in open admiration as they executed a complex choreography of strikes, blocks, and counterattacks, each punctuated by a forceful cry. A gong chimed in the distance. Almost instantly, the disciples spread out to form a perfect circle around us. Yorga Asmal, dressed in the same robes I'd seen him wear at the Alliance of Nations, stepped out from the midst. Welcome to the Silver Garrison, your majesty. I'm humbled to be here, Mr. Asmal. Supreme Wiseman, the skill of your disciples is admirable indeed. They still have far to go, but thank you. With a smile, he turned to Sal. A pleasure to finally meet you, Grand Wiseman. Likewise, Supreme Wiseman. Will your disciples be treating us to a prayer ceremony? For this special occasion, I had something different in mind. A traditional Dardian duel of generosity. Sal's face turned white. Fight yourself in the Dardian duel? It would be a great privilege to participate in your holy tradition. You are familiar with our custom. Even better. No weapons, no bloodshed, each leader represented by a champion of his choosing. He spread his arms wide. Talum, Estari, Zirak, Nalim. The circle of men flattened out into a long line. Asmal slowly walked from one end to the other, then back to the middle. He stood in front of a particularly tall, well-built disciple and bowed. The man took a step forward and returned the gesture. I will be represented by Lauren. His participation in this duel shall be his final challenge before his ascension to the rank of adept. The rest of the disciples applauded. Sal politely followed suit. Asmal turned towards Titus. My bodyguard tensed up instinctively. Captain Gordian, I've heard tales of your fighting prowess, both before and after you began serving the king. Am I right to assume that you have brought this man as your champion, your majesty? Fight yourself in the Dardian duel. No, I will serve as my own champion. Everyone went silent for a second. A brave proposition. Your majesty, this man looks like trouble, even for me. I've got to respect my hosts. What could be more respectful than stepping into the ring myself? If you insist, sir, I will be standing at the ready in case you need help. This is highly unorthodox, your majesty, but of course, so is most of Golcondism. Asmal cleared his throat. We and the disciples stopped speaking. As his majesty has declared, so it will be. The king of Rizia will duel against my champion. Each fighter will now have 5 minutes to prepare. Left jab, lose on purpose. Lauren nodded his assent and walked away. He knelt on a patch of grass and raised his arms skyward in prayer, his face a mask of concentration. Pray. I followed the Dardian fighter's lead and began praying for my success in the fight. A short while later, another gong sounded. The disciples formed a tight circle around me, and the man Jorga Asmal called Lauren. The Supreme Wiseman stepped between us. The duel will last 10 minutes, or until one opponent acknowledges the other's superior skill in combat. Should a fighter draw blood, the duel will be called off immediately. Its results void before the Lord. You will bow to one another, and the duel will commence. He stepped back into the circle. He and the disciples began a slow, deep-voiced chant in Dardian as Lauren and I bowed to each other. The moment we began sparring, it was obvious I was outmatched. Lauren moved with fluid unpredictability. His blows seemed to come out of nowhere, but landed with tactical precision. The hand-to-hand combat training I'd received in the military was useless against this technique. Yet somehow, miraculously, I was holding my own against the Dardian fighter. Left jab. I threw a jab with my left hand, it hit his shoulder, and he staggered backwards slightly with a smile. I didn't say anything. We continued sparring, Lauren mostly dodging my blows with ease, but occasionally allowing 1 or 2 to land. Say nothing. I said nothing and concentrated on our duel. The 10 minutes were almost up. My opponent turned his back briefly to prepare for his next move. Take the punch, you can see. I allowed his punch to land on my ribcage. I allowed myself to fall to the ground, holding my hands up in the sign of concession. Asmal signaled for the circle to stop chanting. He gleefully applauded. You fought beautifully, your majesty. This bodes well for our 2 countries. And you, my champion, you will make a fine adept. He took his disciple's hand and kissed him tenderly on the lips. The surrounding crowd erupted into cheer. Titus looked around uneasily. Is that normal here? Unfortunately, Captain Gordian, it is. Sal grimaced. St. Ruick would despair what they've done to his sacred teachings. Do you not agree, Your Majesty? There's something beautiful about it. In a way, you're right. It is like watching two giraffes' necks intertwine in the royal zoo. We turned our attention back to Asmal. The disciples had begun to disperse. An auspicious start to our meeting! This way, please. Titus stood outside as Sal and I followed the Supreme Wise went through the door at the base of the pillar. A staircase led down to a softly lit room, its walls lined floored with ceiling with bookshelves. There were no tables or chairs, just a number of comfortable-looking cushions on the carpeted floor. Osmal gestured for us to sit. This is the very heart of the garrison, Your Majesty. I never make political decisions without consulting the teachings of St. Ruick. I do the same. One cannot steer the course of a nation without a spiritual compass. Wise words, Your Majesty. Are there any of his tracts that you find particularly useful? I cannot choose just one. It's like asking me to pick a favorite child. For every situation, there is a different treatise, Your Majesty. Osmal smiled. Perhaps it was on the embrace of divine differences that led you to remove your predecessor's nonsensical blasphemy law. It was the Lord himself who came to me in a vision and told me to make that decree. He guided you well, Your Majesty. I will say that I do not approve of your participation in the persecution of our Golcondist brethren in Wayland. I am puzzled that men in your country are still forbidden from expressing love for one another. To me, this is among the most basic of rights. Your government's tolerance of illegal substances goes against St. Ruick's teachings that a devout soul must be pure in both mind and body. That's a false interpretation, Supreme Wiseman. In the right quantities, such substances can... Please, I'm not trying to start an argument. We may not agree on everything, but I nonetheless see fertile ground for cooperation, where previously there was barrenness. Watch the movie Goat? Go at? I love a good go at. I assume you came to meet me in pursuit of a mutually beneficial arrangement, so tell me, what does Rizia want? Wish to strengthen the ties between our two nations. Osmal's eyes lit up. I would welcome the chance for Darity to grow closer to our Rizian brothers. In fact, I was hoping to speak with you about our energy partnership. I hear you're constructing a pipeline between Rizia and Morella. Can it be extended to my country? Yeah, an interesting possibility. I will consider it. I recognize that this would require closer cooperation with Morella, but for a chance at energy security, I'm willing to face the devil herself. Sal smiled faintly. Ignoring your religious ideals for the sake of earthly riches, your true colors are showing, Supreme Wiseman. Remember Ruick's words, Sal. Do not reach for the stars above your head before tending to the soil beneath your feet. Precisely. It is your energy, Your Majesty, and your decision. Yes, that's what I want. The +4 budget. I got it. Excellent. I agree to extend the pipeline, but you must be ready to stop your disgraceful border violations. Pipeline and our three nations will begin a new era of peace and cooperation. +4 budget return for 2 oil instead of 2 budget. Is that the same? Okay, that is the same. You're very optimistic, but I will not count on Morella to offer either of those to us. Is there anything else you'd ask of me? Contract the services of the mercenaries, and after asking for a discount for religious friends, buy the missiles. Ran a risk of losing the territory of Zeal to Wayland. I would humbly call upon your great warrior culture for assistance. He seemed pleased. We're happy to help our brethren. Our mercenaries have been helping win wars since the days of the Empire Meridia. You saw my disciples earlier? Imagine a larger team just as trained, wielding sophisticated weaponry and stealth technology. In case of an emergency, a surge of Dardian mercenaries could certainly be of service. Hello, Jamie. What's up? As long as there's a way to rein them in. Normally, Dardia would charge you for the service, but my disciples are eager to help Rizia reclaim its land from the anti-Golcondist Wejeks. Free mercenaries? I can't say no to that. I will accept your aid. Excellent! Is there anything else you'd ask of me? Your missile technology is superior to anything we could achieve in Rizia. I want to purchase one of your systems. He appeared flattered. Indeed, our defense agency's research and development department is the pride and joy of the Silver Garrison. I'm curious why Rizia is in need of such technology. You're not at war, after all. Yes, and I want to stay that way. Firma Kirpa may be on the cusp of major geopolitical conflict. Economic move. Holy Reckoning may be soon at our doorstep. We must be prepared to wield the instruments of justice. He pressed his fingers together. With the way things are going in the world, such a reckoning may indeed be close at hand. I'm prepared to make a deal. I know that this weaponry is the product of years of hard work. It cannot be undervalued. Good faith agreement between men of God. He sighed. If you truly insist, I will give you your kingdom a discount, but only because I trust you to wield it in behalf of all Rizians, including Golcondists. I will. You have my word. That will be all for today. Splendid. The Lord will smile on what you have accomplished, today. Let us hope so. We stood and made our way back up the stairs. The sun was still shining brightly as we emerged from the base of the pillar. Outside, Titus was sitting by himself, his eyes on the group of disciples exercising some distance away. On seeing me, he rose and snapped to attention. Your Majesty, shall we go? Yes, we've done all we've set out to do. Osmal reached out his hand to me. You are welcome back to the garrison any time, Your Majesty. He returned my handshake with a firm grip. The sounds of sung hymns and clashing swords accompanied us as we made our way out of the compound. My dealings with Dardia were far from over, but I wondered if I would ever see the Silver Garrison again. That's the power of the heavens, folks. The power of the heavens. Damn. I've never made a full deal with Dardia in a Rizia run before. That's crazy. Rizia and Dardia, unlikely partners. Following the Rizian King's visit to Dardia, where he met Dardian Supreme Wiseman Osmal at the Silver Garrison, rumors have arisen of a potential partnership between the two countries. The internationally isolated Dardia seems ready to jump at any possibility of new partners to pull their country back into the world stage. Something Rizia could provide, although undoubtedly the Golden Kingdom would want things in return. Potential partnership between the countries could worry several others in the area, most noticeably Morella and Pales. And then there's ideological differences. While both countries might be rooted in tradition, these traditions vary greatly and could provide major obstacles. The Transmeridian Pipeline. Promised missiles shipped to Rizia. Dude, we got fucking ICBMs. Jointly extend the pipeline. Short and medium range ballistic missiles. Dardian religious mercenaries. Look at us. Trade deal with Dardia. Growing pro-Rizian armed resistance. Excellent. 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 Take Hugo's offer to frame Mana Saison. Order Golden Guard to frame Mana Saison for treason. Whoa. Whoa, dude. Whoa. Holy shit. This one's a move. How's the moonshine? I haven't bottled it up yet. The party's next week. Also, I don't drink. My shoes echoed on stone as I walked down the palace corridor to Hugo's study. My uncle had invited me for a one-on-one talk, and though I had plenty on my mind, I could hardly decline. Titus remained on guard outside as I pushed the door out and stepped inside. I cast my eye over the filigree mahogany desk, the antique cabinets, and the tasteful paintings and sculptures lining the walls. Filigreed? What kind of word is that? A fire flickered in the fireplace. 2 leather armchairs had been set out in front of it, one empty, the other occupied by Hugo. My uncle rose and bowed upon my approach. Your Majesty, thank you for joining me this evening. Of course, Your Grace. When my Grand Vizier summons me, I have no choice but to obey. Regardless, I know you have much business to attend to, so I appreciate you taking the time to come here. He beckoned me over and we both sat. Tell me, Your Majesty, how much thought have you given to the future of House Taurus? The family means everything to me. You should know that by now. I should, and yet, our family's roots can be traced all the way back to the Raisinid Empire. We survived war, conquest, and numerous challenges to the throne to be where we are today. We picked up a poker and jostled the logs on the fireplace. A shower of sparks flew upward. I brought you here to give you a warning. Certain members of our house have begun to speak ill of you. My decisions were made with my country in mind. If that pisses off a few cousins, so be it. What do you mean? I've done nothing but try to earn their favor since I've taken the throne. I beg your pardon, but you cannot be serious about that. I had no idea I had angered the house that much. Thank you for telling me. I wouldn't be a very effective advisor if I didn't tell you. I'm loath to remind you, but there are those in House Taurus who believe my brother, and hence you, should have been removed from the royal line of succession after introducing commoner blood. Read many books recently, Graham? No. I wish I had been reading, but there's just so much to fucking read, man. Your actions as king have unfortunately poured fuel on those flames. What do you suggest I do? I can't backtrack on my decisions, but you can make wiser ones in the future. I've not yet even mentioned our house's gravest concern, Manus Sezon. He spoke the name like a curse word. I am certain you had good intentions in allowing the Sezon heir to court Vina, but I will tell you this. If you permit Her Highness to marry this man, your grip on the throne will weaken to the point where I cannot recover it. He'll give him the name if he marries her. Their children will still be Taurists. At the expense of Rizian tradition. You needn't allow your reign to be undone by a pair of starry-eyed youths. There are actions that can be taken. Actions? That sounds like a euphemism if I've ever heard one. You're right. I should speak to you as an adult. He's an ambitious young man. There must be something he wants more than the princess. If the carrot doesn't work, there's always the stick. I'd rather go straight for the stick. King Ramus bends over backwards for nobody. By all means. However, this doesn't solve the problem of whom the princess should wed. I have half a mind to marry her to Axel Reinhardt. Hugo drew his breath in through his teeth. Risky, very risky. We came dangerously close to the war with Pales. I would not trust the Duke with your daughter just yet. The ultimate gesture of Rizian-Pelesian unification. Or yet another opportunity for Pelesian power grab. As I said, you've earned House Taurus' loyalty, but name the wrong man as Prince Consort, you run the risk of losing it. Well, unless you can produce a male heir yourself, I should stop harping on about this. I know you and the princess will make the right decision. No, thank you for bringing this up. You've given me a lot to think about. Hugo held up a finger. One more thing. With Duchess Azaro now indisposed, it's imperative that you choose a new security counselor. I want a counselor who isn't a traitor. A perfectly reasonable expectation. Incredibly, it seems that the General today Cesaro is on the track to make a full recovery. Give him another few months and he will be ready to resume his former position. He still wants to serve me after I jailed his daughter. Apparently, which surprises me given the General today is not one to forgive and forget. However, with the threat of the Duchess's execution hanging over his head, I have no doubt he will be loyal to the crown. The Belesians will be expecting an execution, won't they? As long as treason to Rizzi is punishable by death, then yes, they will take umbrage if you make an exception. Technically an interactive book? I guess that's true. I am reading a interactive book. Do you have one other qualified candidate in mind? He nodded towards the door. It could be a refreshing change. His services have been indispensable in keeping the royal family safe, and what is Rizia if not one extended royal family? He smiled. You may not know this, but Captain Gordian petitioned King Valero about the interim security counselor position after General Azaro fell ill. That's interesting. What did my father have to say? He appeared interested. However, he signed the order for Duchess Cesaro to fill the position without so much as an interview with the captain. At any rate, I'll leave the decision up to you. We rose from our chairs. The fire began to flicker as Hugo ushered me out of the door. Titus shadowed me down the hall as I made my way back towards the quarters. On the way there, we passed by my study. Come in for a second, Titus. I want to speak with you privately. Certainly, Your Majesty. Titus and I entered the study. I shut the door behind us. What is it? I need the Golden Guard to deal with Manus Sezon. Titus blinked. You'd like us to launch an investigation to the young man? No, I need him arrested. Preferably tonight. I see. He thought for a moment. Given his family history, nobody would be surprised if evidence turned up connecting him to a plot against the throne. Good thinking, Titus. What would I do without you? I am but an appendage of the crown. I'm sure you could manage. Mr. Sezon lives in Port Jazon without bodyguards. He can easily carry this out in the next few days. Perfect. I trust you to handle it at once. Of course, Your Majesty. I'll tell my men to get right on it. I haven't forgotten about our other assignments. Rest assured, we'll ferret out the truth soon. Was that all you wanted to ask? How would you feel about an expansion on your duties? Titus immediately snapped to full attention. What do you mean, Your Majesty? The Golden Guard has already expanded to its fullest extent. About matters in national security. He straightened up even further. Extremely confident, sir. My experience commanding the Golden Guard has primed me to adapt to new threats and formulate creative strategies. That's very good to know. Titus nodded, somewhat bewildered. Will that be all, sir? Yes, you're dismissed. I'll be along in a minute. I'll leave you to it, Your Majesty. With a bow and a salute, he left the room. I don't think I want to call him. Yeah. Leave the study. I walked out of the study. Titus escorted me back to my chambers. That's funny. Your spine is in shambles? It do be like that, man. Mine too. My guard wished me good night before taking up his usual post outside my door. As I climbed into bed, I thought about the order I'd just given. I knew my daughter would be heartbroken. I just hoped she would never find out what happened or some shit like that. House opposition leader position vacant. Sezon heir imprisoned for treason. New war counselor. Captain Titus Gordian. Indeed. Positions do be filling up. My war counselor. Who's head of, Leona Sezon is now the head of House Sezon. Okay, gotcha. Captain to counselor, Titus Gordian. Good for him. Mi connexion. Alright, that's good. Alright, next, reject Angelica Sezon's pardon. Golden Guard monitoring Manus Sezon. Sezon. Pardon the Duchess Sezon, and no, I will not. The Duchess of Isa will remain in exile. The Sezons have once again pointed to their long-standing position, asking for the release of their matriarch, Angelica, whose husband plotted in the infamous royal kidnapping at 26. Oh, sorry. Issued a formal complaint. Your mom, your fucking mom, dude, couldn't be me. Your mom, L. Oh, gotcha, Graham. Have a good night, man. I hope your spine gets, starts to feel a little better. The 750th anniversary, dude. Why is it so serious, dude? Why is the music so serious? Speaking of the university, depose Rico as Duke of Isa, announced that the region will be administered by the Crown directly. Cameras flash all around as my royal motorcade rolled up to the Isa University auditorium entrance. As King of Rizia, I'd been invited to speak at the institution's 750th anniversary. Vina had agreed to accompany me. She stared numbly ahead as we came to a stop. Her eyes were red from crying. I'm sorry, sweetheart. This must not be easy for you. No, it isn't. The driver came around and opened my door. I took a look out the window. We'd stopped right in front of the statues of myself and my family. Our heads had been replaced. The likenesses looked good as new. Titus's voice came from the passenger seat. I don't think you should exit the car yet, Your Majesty. My scouts reported a number of individuals protesting near the entrance. Su-Amia members by the looks of it. Should have expected this. Yet another warm welcome. She smiled weakly. As your security counsel, I recommend you allow my men to neutralize the offenders before proceeding into the auditorium. Just make sure I don't get attacked. Will do. Titus and his guards shielded me as we walked through the roiling crowd. All around me were men and women in the blue gold attire Su-Amia. I heard shouts of Rizia for Rizians and cleanse the stain. To my relief, we made it to the auditorium unscathed. The seats were already full of students, staff members, distinguished alumni, and nobles from House Cesal. Many wore outfits adorned with the Easy University mascot, an anthropomorphic cactus named Spiky. They arose and bowed politely as I proceeded down the hall. Venus split off from the front row as I took my place on stage next to Rico. He was seated with his legs spread out, his expression radiating barely concealed disdain. Let's get this over with, eh? You said it. This whole place is a hotbed of rebellion. I'd shut it down if I could get away with it. The lights dimmed and the dean of the university stepped on stage. After a short presentation about the history of the university, she invited me to the Duke and the Duke of Isa to speak. Nobody clapped as Rico took the stage. My cousin stepped behind the podium and cleared his throat. God, what a shitbag, man. As reigning Duke of Isa, I am honored to speak at the anniversary of Rizia's most renowned university. I must confess to you all, the only higher education I've received is from the School of Life, and I haven't even graduated yet. A few people in the back row laughed. But when I took charge of Isa, I realized what an important role this institution plays. Isa University was founded in order to preserve our kingdom's cherished traditions and pass them on to the next generation. To instill young people like yourselves as a stable, moral center, even when one is lacking outside these walls. But somehow, over the years, that purpose was lost. He glanced at me. Like the rest of Rizia, this school has become a breeding ground for an ideology that prioritizes foreign perspectives over our own. A place where the nation's greatest achievements are seen as problems to be worried over, not triumphs to be celebrated. Where youths are led to believe the complex realities of today can be solved by waving signs and chanting. He leveled his gaze out of the audience. This isn't education, it's indoctrination. A student sitting at the front yelled, "Totalist!" Rico jerked his head in her direction. See? This is exactly what I mean. I realized the hall had gone deathly silent. All at once, the people sitting in the back row stood up. They were all wearing military-style jackets with patches bearing the Su-Amia insignia. Moving in unison, they marched down the aisle towards the student who'd shouted and roughly yanked her out of her seat. Neither I nor anyone else spoke up as the student was unceremoniously dragged out of the auditorium. Rico watched with a small smile on his face. Once the door had closed, he continued. That little interruption just proved my point. I may not be a man of letters, but I do know you can't spell university without unity. If we cannot come together as Rizians, even on this historic occasion, then I fear our future as a kingdom. Fear for our future as a kingdom. Gloribus Axa Rizia. God save King Ramus. The audience burst into hurried applause. Rico held his head high as he returned to his seat. The dean walked back on stage and introduced me. I took Rico's place behind the podium. I could feel the tension in the hall. I glanced at Titus. He was scanning the crowd, alert for the slightest sign of danger. I took out the notes I'd prepared. My loyal subjects. "750 years. What a milestone. Not only for this university, but for Rizia. War, revolution, social upheaval, these halls have seen it all and lived to tell the tale. And so it gives me no great pleasure to see how far the school and the city around it have fallen. Which is why I'm truly dismayed that the Duke of Isa has allowed a culture of hate and intolerance to pervade this place." Rico was staring daggers at me. The Su-Amia members in the audience shifted in their seats uneasily. He speaks of unity yet seeks to draw arbitrary lines between us and them. Your current Duke is a disgrace to everything that the noble house Taurus stands for. Rico looked agitated. His eyes darted back and forth from me to Sue Omnia members in the back row. Uh-oh. How's the weather? It's been raining a little recently, but it's also been kind of clear skies? Kind of? I don't know. It's like on and off rain. Announced that I am removing Ricardo Torres from power effective immediately. The audience roared. Rico shot out of his seat. What? But your majesty! Titus grabbed his shoulders and forced him back into his chair. Shrieks came from the audience as a dozen Sue Omnia members rushed the stage. Titus and his fellow Golden Guards moved swiftly to intercept them. Before I knew it, a full-on brawl had broken out. The teachers and students began streaming towards the exits. Return to your seats at once. A shot rang out and everyone in the hall froze. One of Rico's defenders lay crumpled on the ground, bleeding from a wound in his shoulder. The Central Police, missing in action until now, finally materialized to take the man away. The audience's chatter had escalated into a cacophony. I motioned for silence. I regret that you all had witnessed that. Now that your Duke has been deposed, I see only one option. No longer have a Duke, it will be reincorporated into Brennus and governed by its own democratically elected council. For now, there will be no new Duke. These will remain under Rizia Imperii jurisdiction, overseen by the central government. Under police rule to ensure order and the public safety, a new Duke will be appointed if and when stability is restored. A hush came over the crowd as my announcement sank in. Hesitantly, the students and teachers assembled began clapping. Vina sat still. She wasn't applauding at all. Orvus Axorizia. Everyone dutifully applauded. Rico was still frozen to his seat. He seemed to be processing everything that had happened. He was right. Hugo wouldn't stand for this. But perhaps I could still weather the storm. That's right. That's Rizia Imperii, folks. Rico Torres. University anniversary ends in Duke's surprise deposition. At Isa University's 750th anniversary celebration, King Rhombus announced the deposition of Duke Ricardus Torres, marking a pivotal transformation in the city's leadership. This decision reflected the monarch's unwavering dedication to justice, integrity, and the well-being of the realm. His Majesty further declared that governance in Isa would directly be overseen by the central government. This step ensures stability during the transition and demonstrates the king's strategic focus on maintaining order and unity during a significant moment in the kingdom. Rico Torres has been deposed from Isa. Republic of Whaling reports a merge of tortured prisoners. Oh, yikers. Couldn't be. Kingdom of Rumburg has something to say. Improve environmental protections. Probably at Fort Ailes? Yeah. Arius environmental protests escalate. The kingdom faces a growing environmental movement against the Arius project located in Fort Ailes. Protesters driven by ecological concerns are blocking roads and demanding immediate action. We must now decide whether to address these concerns directly, allowing the protesters to continue peacefully, or take a firmer stance. We must improve environmental protections. King passes environmental protections. Protesters block roads and tram lines. Done. Allow the RPP demonstrations. Oh god. Flight to Thornburg. Uh-oh. After receiving the news that I had deposed his son, Uncle Hugo was on his way to talk to me. Thoughts were running through my mind as I paced back and forth in my chambers. If he were to openly go against me, I'd have a big problem with my entire house. I thought about each scenario in my head and tried to devise a plan. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. I granted Hugo permission to enter, and he walked in. He seemed more angry than sad, something that took me off guard. Your Majesty. More sad than angry, rather. He bowed in front of me, lower and longer than he'd normally go for. I nodded. Rhombus, my king, may I speak freely? You always have, Hugo. Speak your mind. It's about my son. Hugo leaned forward slightly, his hands clasped together, choosing his words carefully. About your decision to remove him as Duke of Isa. I understand that he was not popular in the city. King Valero himself had reservations about his readiness to become Duke, yet... Yet what? He is my son, Ramos, and I was not consulted. His demeanor made me feel uncomfortable. I couldn't meet his gaze, I had to look away. I value your counsel, Hugo, more than you know, but some decisions must be weighed swiftly in order to protect the realm. Indeed, I wouldn't question your judgment. I've served this family and this kingdom all my life, Ramos. My loyalty has never wavered. But as a father yourself, you must understand. Your son's removal was not the punishment. I do not doubt your loyalty, nor do I take your sacrifices for granted. Your son's removal was not punishment, but a necessity for him, for you, for all of us. I do not question your motives, Ramos, but I nonetheless believe I was owed a consultation. The loss of his position has repercussions for his future and for the name of our family. Some form of compensation could ease this transition. What amends do you seek? Tell me. I'm just asking for something in return. A role, an estate, something to maintain the dignity of my son and provide a path forward for him. I understand you cannot offer him a title right after revoking, but please consider offering him a job in the capital. What about assigning him to serve under Captain Gordian as chief of the Portrazon Police Department? So I can escalate tensions right at my doorstep as well? No, I'm sorry. Hugo took a deep breath, his posture relaxing ever so slightly, yet there was an underlying current of disappointment in his voice. I shall stand by your decision, as I have always stood by you and your father before you. My loyalty to the crown to you remains unshaken. You are my monarch and my family. He extended his hand. We shook hands. Hugo looked at our hands for a moment before placing his own on top of mine, for the kingdom and our family. As Hugo exited, I was left to ponder the intricate balance of ruling, when the lines between kinship and kingship blurred. I stood up and prepared for my next meeting. Damn. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. The thump of airplane wheels on asphalt jolted me from my sleep. I was seated in the commercial jet we'd chartered for our royal visit to Thornburg. It had been a long, bumpy ride. Lorento was in the seat next to mine. On seeing I was awake, he smiled. Good morning, Your Majesty. Glad you were able to get some rest. I've been nervous about today's meeting. Understandably so. He pulled a tin of wax out of his pocket and dabbed some onto the ends of his mustache. With all the foreign turmoil happening lately, it is comforting to know that Queen Beatrice is still on our side. Rumburg hasn't been looking great internationally. It is still the most powerful nation, and by far more useful friend than enemy. The plane's door slid open, and aide informed us of that everything had been cleared for our arrival. Thornborough Airport, one of the biggest transportation hubs in Mercopa, had been completely emptied by a passenger for our visit. As we descended the airplane stairs under the tarmac, a horn quartet played a jubilant fanfare. Photographers in a cordoned-off press area eagerly began snapping pictures. A red carpet stretched from the plane to a waiting motorcade next to a pair of limousines. Beatrice Livingston and the Rumburg royal family waited to greet us. The Queen had a compassionate look in her eyes as I approached. We exchanged cheek kisses. My dear brother-in-law, what a pleasure it is to finally host you in Thornborough. Your niece sends her warmest welcomes. How lovely. I'm just dying to hear about her time in the Grand Duchy. She abruptly turned and regarded Lorento, who was standing behind me. Mr. Esquivel, His Majesty is lucky to have retained the services of a fine statesman like yourself. The good fortune is all mine. With a flourish, he knelt and kissed Beatrice's hand. She blushed slightly. Let's not delay. We have a full program of events planned at the Emerald Palace. Well, you remember King Consort Boris and Prince Bradley? Lorento and I exchanged cursory agreements with two men. A chauffeur opened their limousine door and they stepped in. Queen Beatrice, Lorento, and I were escorted over to a second car. I hope you two don't mind the company. We have so much to catch up on. I thought we should start right away. Good thinking. You never know who's listening at the palace. I assure you our security is second to none, but of course, one can never be too careful. We got into the car and sat facing each other on leather banquets. The engine thrummed to life and we began moving. Once we were in motion, Beatrice smiled at the two of us. Well, look at us. Still allies after all these years. My energy ministers tell me that our deal is going swimmingly. I wish you'd taken my advice about the Das community to heart. Here Rumberg expatriates feel their freedom of religion is restricted. Your business-friendly policies have helped both our nations greatly. The recent turmoil in Isa gave me pause, but I trust you know what you're doing. I asked the Lord to show me the way. I see. Rather antiquated, but if it works. I suppose I have the Lord to thank for Rizia's skillful de-escalation of the Pale situation. Or was that Mr. Squeeble? You're too kind, Your Excellency. But it was His Majesty who ferreted out the traitor in our midst. Ah, yes. What an unfortunate turn of events. She turned to me. I had hoped to meet this Duchess of Zaro someday. It's rare to see a noblewoman who's also a capable military officer. Too good to be true, as it turned out. All that potential, wasted on warmongering. In any event, well done! And managing to keep your access to the Arius field, what a feat. Yes, as long as the relations with Pale stay friendly, we'll have the means to fulfill our energy commitments for years to come. Excellent. We won't have to go begging to Swordland now, would we? I understand you've been having quite some trouble with the Republic lately. Swordland has trouble with us, Mr. Squeeble, not the other way around. It's true we closed our embassy in Leshaven, but that was a long overdue response to the Republic's many attempts to isolate us. And then their President Rain had the nerve to retaliate by shutting down the Swordish consulate in Dome. And put an embargo on us, part of his silly little emergency. Lorento looked distressed. He nodded at Beatrice to continue. Frankly, Your Majesty, the fact that Rizia is maintaining its connections to Swordland amounts to betrayal in my eyes. Yes, I haven't liked President Rain since his dealings with Gaz. Alfonso had the stage sets to invest, then Rain tore it all down. That alone is proof that Swordland can no longer be trusted if it ever could. Have Rain's millennialist leanings not escaped your notice? He will stab both of our kingdoms in the back with no hesitations, mark my word. We rode on and looked out the window at a completely empty freeway. How's everyone else in Grace? Ah, just fine. A little rebellion here and there, but nothing to worry about. I've not yet broached the subject of zeal. Right, your oil embargo helped us get a very unfavorable deal with Wayland. I thank you for it. In case that deal doesn't work out, I have another opportunity. Chilean Foreign spoke confidentially. Oh, damn, that word got my ass. I suggest that you take advantage of Rumberg's contacts within the Bloodish Freedom Front. That's it? Of course I welcome the opportunity to assist devout Rushists in need. And they, in turn, can assist you in the reclamation of Zeal. Lorento coughed. If I may, Your Excellency, Zeal has nothing to do with the former Greater Bloodia region. Why would the BFF get involved there? You've established Rizia as a safe haven for their so-called religion, besides which, any action that destabilizes the Schmolak regime will help the Bloodish cause, no matter where it's carried out. Lorento pondered over this for a moment. As loath as I am to suggest violence as a solution to the Zeal conundrum, an internal resistance effort from the BFF could work in perfect concert with the Dardian mercenaries already present in the region. Be active in Zeal sooner or later. Just be giving them a nudge. Exactly. You had to twist my arm, Your Excellency. I'll fund the Bloodish Freedom Front if you can promise me they'll help liberate Zeal. We'll figure out another way to retake Zeal. Suit yourself, Your Majesty. It was just a suggestion. At any rate, Your Excellency, thank you for the offer, and for entrusting us with this such sensitive information. Why, certainly. What are allies for? Was there anything else on your mind? Only what your talented chefs will be serving us for supper tonight. Beatrice laughed lightly. That's the spirit. Have you ever had caviar from the Tranquil Sea? I'll be so bold as to declare that it gives the lesbians a run for their money. We turned off the freeway. The massive green domes of the Emerald Palace loomed in the distance. We finished the journey in comfortable silence. There was still a long visit ahead of us. The Tranquil Sea. Damn. Rizzi and Rumberg reaffirmed their alliance, and Operation Bear Trap begins. President Schmolak has declared the start of Operation Bear Trap against the separatist militant group that plagues northern Wayland. BFF, Rumberg, Agnolia, and Lesbia has condemned the mobilization order and citing the war crimes committed during the previous assault against the Bloodish people, while Swordland has not made any comment on the matter. Oof. Oof, dude. Oof. Protests over Mana Saison's arrest and the RPP leadership struggle. The arrest of Mana Saison, leader of the RPP, has ignited widespread protests across the country. Supporters of Saison, along with other reformists and activists, have taken to the streets demanding his immediate release, accusing the government of trying to suppress the reform movement. The Rizian intelligence reports that the power struggle within the RPP has emerged in the wake of Saison's arrest and the party's radical faction, led by Adarfo Sotoleto. It's gaining influence. This group is calling for more aggressive action against the monarch. We will allow the protest. My authority! No! Duke Reinhardt's visit. Alright, there's a lot of stuff to do with Axel, apparently, which is rough. As the morning sun cast its golden rays over the portrait-lined halls of the palace, I waited for Duke Reinhardt to arrive. The meeting, a follow-up on our recent RS gas field agreement, was crucial in solidifying the newfound cooperation. I paced the grand reception hall, looking at its walls adorned with tapestries depicting the glorious history of Rizio, while Pabel was making sure everything was in order. I stopped in front of one massive tapestry map dated from the 7th century, which showed the Raisinid Empire at the height of its power. The border stretched far and wide, including most of the current territories of current-day Morella, Dardia, Wayland, and the southern coast of Lesbia. Damn. Morella, Dardia, Wayland, Rizia, and the southern coast of Lesbia. What are you thinking? About the map, I mean? I just really like history. I thought as much. I was wondering, Your Majesty. He pointed at one map hung in the corner of the hall. Did you think that particular map might be perceived a bit negatively? It was a very rare map depicting the borders of the kingdom in the 18th century, showing Pales as a part of Rizia. Excuse me. You're right. The Duke may take it the wrong way. Take it down. Papal signaled to a pair of nearby servants. A few minutes later, they returned with the ladder and swiftly removed the map. Suddenly, we heard a knock at the door, signaling the arrival of the Duke. I'll leave you to it, Your Majesty. Thank you. Before I had time to recollect myself, the door suddenly opened. Duke Reinhardt strode into the hall, glancing around at the paintings and tapestries on the wall. He approached me and we shook hands. Welcome to Rizia, Your Grace. It's great to be here, Your Majesty. He smiled and gestured at the pair of armchairs that had been set out for us. Let's have a seat. We both sat down. So, Your Majesty, I've been faring well since we last met. I must say the Arias field has been a game changer for us, now that extractions have begun in earnest. From the reports Rizian oil and gas is sending me, it's been quite the boon to your industries and foreign trade as well. I'd say we both made it out like bandits, wouldn't you? Absolutely. The gas deal has been pivotal for us. Great to hear. Look, Your Majesty, I believe the resolution we reached and the crisis we shepherd each other through together amount to more than just handshakes or numbers. In light of this, I've been contemplating the future, our next steps. We can't stop there. I like the way you think. We've been circling around this for years. I told you I've been trying to get Pales out from under Lesbia's thumb. And Volgsland will pounce on us if we're unprotected for even a second. I've seen the way they're eyeing Hela Island. I also believe Varizia and Pales are natural partners. Our countries are politically and culturally the closest in southern Mercopa, maybe even the world. And now that we've entrusted Rizia with our energy instead of Lesbia, our futures have become inextricably intertwined. He paused and gave me an intense stare, as if he was expecting me to cut with an offer. As a matter of fact, I have an offer for you. Is that so? I'm all ears. Grander alliance that encompasses our neighbors in southern Mercopa. We have to protect this region from encroaching world powers. If you and I work together, we can achieve this. An intriguing proposal. What would this new alliance look like? I already noticed the energy deals I've been making with my neighbors. With the help of Arias Gas, I want to create a network that spans southern Mercopa. I like the sound of that, but getting more than 2 southern Mercopan leaders in a room together is like herding cats. Total chaos. Who else is in? Morella, Dardia, and Wayland. All three of them, eh? Very interesting. I'm not a gambling man, Your Majesty. Not after certain events that got me banned from every casino on the Falenko boardwalk. But keep me posted on this scheme of yours. It just might be crazy enough to work. I understand. Was there anything else you'd like to discuss? Do you have an other offer I'd like to extend your way? I'm all ears. And I believe it's possible through a bond of marriage. He grinned devilishly. Flattering, Your Majesty, but you're not really my type. His expression turned serious. He looked me straight in the eye. Or were you talking about your daughter? The thought of a Rizzy of Pale's reunion has certainly crossed my mind, and of course, a marriage between myself and Princess Vina would be the natural way to accomplish that, but first, I'd like Rizzy to help Pales join Grace. Pulling away from Lesbia will necessitate strong allies with common goals. Rizzy is a key member. Have you considered extending an invitation our way? Monarchies must stand together. I'm so glad to hear you say that. Hear you agree. So, can I expect you to advocate our membership at the next Grace meeting? Yes, I'll bring with members and initiate your application. Thank you, Your Majesty. I'm looking forward to commiserating over the pressures of the crown with all of you. He sat back in his chair with a satisfied look, including my own pressure to get married. Assuming Vina agrees to it, this union would not only be a powerful symbol of reconciliation between our families, but a merging of our country's destinies. Rizzy's destiny does not involve being ruled by the Reinhardts. This must be a peaceful reunification, not a dominion. We've been able to cooperate peacefully thus far. I'm sure we can find a way to reign together. But pretend you haven't been imagining this as well. Two kingdoms united under one family name. Torhart, I'm open to compromise. Look, Your Majesty, my intention is not to execute a power grab. If your daughter does not take the throne one day, I'm willing to be the king consort. She can keep the Taurus surname if you and she desire. I do have one condition, though. If we are to reunify, I want my domain to include Greater Pales. I shall consider your request. No consideration required, Your Majesty. Agree to this, or we will remain a Grand Duchy. Just think about it. I'll bring it up with Her Highness, but she says no, that's the end of the conversation. Oh god, I fucked this up. That goes without saying. Thank you. Was there anything else you'd like to discuss? I believe we can do more than just Grace. I'm listening. Oh, no, I guess not. Right. He sighed. I believe I've said everything I needed to. He stood up and shook my hand. Thank you for having me, Your Majesty. It was a pleasure as always. Until next time. We don't want to do that one, I think. I don't think we want to do that one. Alright, here's like the next cringe step. Jesus. I have to marry Vina to Axe, which is going to be tough. Golden candlesticks stood along the length of the table in the royal dining room. Their flickering light cast a warm glow on my daughter's face, matching the warmth in her eyes. My mother hurried into the room, holding the train of her silk brocade gown. Pabel calmly pulled out her chair. Truly sorry, dears. It took two ladies in waiting to squeeze me into this old thing. But I wouldn't miss supper for the world. It's been ages since the three of us sat around the same table. Been a hard year for Vina. I wanted to give her time to process her feelings. My daughter managed a weak smile. That's very kind of you, Father. Pardon my interruption, but dinner is served. Pabel rang a small bell. An army of kitchen staff materialized around the table, bearing plates of food. He fastidiously wiped the dust off an ancient-looking wine bottle before pouring glasses for Vina and my mother, then me. A rare Contwavo Grand Cru, bottled 26 days prior to the uprising. but it's aged more gracefully than I have. The others laughed politely. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, but even heavier are the under-eye bags. Pavel bowed and disappeared back into the kitchen. I looked down at my plate. Dinner tonight was monkey lobster with rice and plenty of butter. Your father couldn't stand lobster as a child, Vina. I could only get him to eat it by telling him it was a magical creature called a sea pheasant. There's no such thing as a sea pheasant. My mother snickered. Vina didn't respond. Are you enjoying your dinner, Vina? Yes, father. Vina picked at her food, still preoccupied. She slowly and deliberately put down her fork. I can't bear it anymore, Far. Did you do it? My mother went pale. She shot Vina a look of warning. Honey, please, not at the dinner table. Please go on, Vina. You can ask me anything. My daughter stared at me with hollow eyes. You never liked Manus. It was all a ruse. He wasn't plotting anything. You had him framed. You're blinded by the hearts in your eyes. House Sazon was using you all along. You're wrong. I knew him. What we had together, that was real. Vina seemed close to tears. My butler discreetly offered her a kerchief. No thanks, Pavel, but I'm fine. She turned back towards me. Did you really want me on the council, or was that just to keep me busy while you... She started sobbing. Estella rushed over to her side of the table and embraced her tightly. There, darling, let it all out. It seems like the end of the world now, I know, but you've got your entire life ahead of you. You'll fall in love again, then you'll look back at your present self and laugh at what a silly little girl she was, getting so hung up over someone she barely even knew. Vina took a long, shaky breath. I know how much Manus meant to you. I would never do anything to hurt him. I know. I'm sorry for my outburst. Marry Vina to Axel. You can convince her to marry him by telling her it's best for the kingdom. Speaking of falling in love again, how over do you possibly have another suitor? Fucking kill me. She stared at me disbelievingly. Oh. Duke Axel Reinhardt. Vina pushed away her plate with a stunning expression. Oh, honey, don't look too surprised. Vina Taurus, Queen of Rizzi and Grand Duchess of Pales doesn't have a nice ring to it. Telling her it's best for the kingdom. Refuse the benefits this union will bring to our kingdom. Benefits that you and Mr. Reinhardt have discussed without my involvement, I assume. I'll admit I enjoy getting to know Axel. He's much kinder than the media makes him out to be. But I'm not in love with him. I don't need to tell you how important alliances between monarchies are, Vina. You yourself are a product of one. Vina sniffed indignantly. I'm well aware of that. Aunt Bay never ceases to remind me of it. All the more reason for you to marry the Duke, sweetheart. Imagine the look on Her Excellency's face. What about the Reinhardts? Do we really want to merge our house with theirs? I have been privy to your conversations about them. Will one marriage be enough to resolve centuries of tension? Simple as that. This is not a merger, it's an acquisition. I still don't know. As much as I've enjoyed being on your council, I still believe our kingdom's citizens should have more of a say in its future. I know you don't share that vision, but I always hoped you would come to see it my way. But a martial alliance with another monarchy feels like a step backwards. I know it seems that way, but I assure you this partnership will benefit everyone in Rizzi and not only nobles. If I marry Reinhardt, I intend to hold you to that promise. My mother was smiling proudly. Joining the Royal Council has agreed with you, hasn't it? I used to be so jealous of noble women like you. They'd come into my establishment spending like tycoons and talking like encyclopedias. When I joined their ranks, I realized the price of all that privilege. Sooner or later, you gotta put your personal aspirations aside and do your womanly duty on behalf of the kingdom. The act as if marrying a handsome duke is a punishment. Any girl in Rizzi would kill to have my life, I know. She rubbed her brow deep in thought. Finally, she spoke again. If you really believe marrying Axel is what's best for the kingdom, I will do it. Marvelous. My mother clapped her hands. People, some champagne. We've got an engagement to celebrate. Right away, madam. He absconded to the kitchen and returned with a bottle. From a more auspicious year, I hope. 48. Date of your first contract with Duke Reinhardt, I believe. We filled our glasses, and Vina hoisted hers high. The hint of a smile was beginning to show on her face. To a reunited Rizia. Perhaps this will be fun after all. To a reunited Rizia. We clinked our glasses. Over dessert, we began discussing the wedding preparations. Okay, I did not know how that was gonna go. I didn't know how that was gonna go at all, man. God. Okay, whew. Rufus Gragg's royal gossip, Vina is engaged. Rizia Pale's union imminent. Speculation of potential reunification of Rizian Pale skyrocketed as the Rizian Palace announces that Princess Vina will marry Pelesian Grand Duke Axel Reinhardt. Time will tell what implications this marriage will have, but at the very least, ties between the two monarchies will be improved and cemented. Whether this can lead to a full reunification of both countries, with Pale's rumored to be considered as the 5th Rizian province, remains to be seen. Ensuring continuity of the Taurus royal lineage. The future of the Taurus royal lineage is at a crossroads with the Crown Princess' forthcoming marriage. Tradition dictates that she and any children she bear may take her husband's surname, effectively removing House Taurus from the royal line of succession. However, the Kingdom of Rizia may issue an exception, allowing the Taurus name to be passed down at matrilineal. Taurus surname and lineage will carry through Vina. Vina and her children shall take her husband's name. That's not going to be too hot with the Valanquir, but... Alright, and then last decrees. We are doing a large energy sale. For 3 budget. All that for 3 budget is crazy. The Salabas Consumer Industry Park. The kingdom initiates the establishment of the Salabas Consumer Industry Park in Brennus. Designed to bolster Rizia's consumer goods sector, particularly in electronics and household appliances, this strategic development, calling for a significant resource investment, promises to enhance industrial production and living standards upon completion. Sure. And then, the Havas Consumer Park. Havas. A consumer goods industry in Havas. Textiles and household items. Sweet land of liberty. Thriving home, a stronger kingdom. Consumer industry park begins construction. Good. Heavy industrial park is almost done, I think. Rush's sanctuary is being built. Dasnerist and Havas consumer park is starting to be built. The hydroelectric dam might be done next turn. Fuck. That would go crazy, man. That would go fucking crazy. Chapter 2, Between Scenes, indeed. Monkey, do I have any Venonesium should have won? Choose the world knows our might. Valanquir Industrial Park, a monument to progress. Oh yeah, that's tasty. The heavy industrial park moment. The hydroelectric dam powers up. Yeehaw! Pipeline extension to Dardia has been opened. They must be happy with us. Yeah. Confederacy of Venonesium wins the Civil War. The tide of the war in Venonesium has been dramatically shifted when the monarchists, bolstered by the felt impact of Rizian support, captured Yangara. The battle for Kanthapur was an intense urban struggle, culminating in a decisive victory that echoed through the war-torn streets. Following this, the monarchist forces, with renewed vigor, swiftly reclaimed Rakara and Penguvi, turning the tide in a war that seemed unwinnable. As the final revolutionary strongholds fell, a sense of order and monarchist rule was reinstated. The streets of Kanthapur, once scenes of fierce combat, transformed into avenues of celebration as a new era dawned in Venonesian history, promising stability after years of turmoil. The world knows our might. Thus domineering, mate. Domineering. Prince Consort victorious in Venonesium. The Confederacy has claimed victory in the Venonesian Civil War with the major revolutionary factions laying down arms following a series of defeats. While some minor groups are expected to continue to fight and conduct guerrilla operations, marking a new phase in the conflict, conventional warfare has come to an end. All foreign troops are slowly returning home, now that Kobin Sangtan feels confident his own forces will be able to keep the country in check. While the Prince Consort has publicly proclaimed a reconciliation process and focus on rebuilding the nation, the Watchtower of Human Rights worries about extrajudicial killings and disappearances of suspected former revolutionaries. Same. When the GG gives you the lesbian document, do not reveal it. We will blackmail Alvarez. That's funny. Invest in pharma. Celebration as monarchists triumph in Vietnamese Civil War. Monkey. The Treasury has confided an unsustainable increase in trade-related spending. With key industrial sectors underdeveloped, essential goods continue to flow in from abroad at rising prices. Advisors warn the Crown's reliance on deepening and the burden now compounds with each passing quarter. Why make what we can buy? We've neglected the issue. I don't know, my budget seems to be doing fine. I wish there was the economy button like I had in Swordland. A new hospital opens. Ah, the tourist hospital finally opened. Excellent. Zapna hydroelectric dam is completed. Hell yeah. Trans-Meridian pipeline finished. Avoidance and provincial tax payments. Your mom. Ramastor's hospital has been completed. Increased trade volume. That's right. That's right. That's right. Oh. Alright. Security Council meeting at the Palace Resna in Port Trésor. I felt the cool sand between my toes as I ran along the beach of Zeal with my grandparents. Ahead of the vast expanse of the Gulf of Meridia stretched out endlessly, shimmering in the sunlight. I remember the salty breeze tossing my hair as my boats gilded across the surface, the rhythmic sound of the waves, the cries of seagulls. It was a simpler time. A time of pure joy, untainted by the weight of royal duty. And I snapped back to reality when I entered the council room where I found Titus awaiting my arrival. I was here to receive the latest updates on Zeal. Good afternoon, Your Majesty, it's good to see you. Titus promptly rose from his seat and bowed in respect. As newly appointed Royal Counselor of War and Internal Security, I want to express how eternally grateful I am for the trust you've placed in me. The circumstances surrounding my appointment are unfortunate, but I'm happy to serve nonetheless. Took no pleasure in Lucida's removal, but I can think of no better person to replace her. That's very kind of you to say. Anyway, I suppose we should dive right into the situation in Zeal. We sat in our respective seats around the council table. You'll be pleased to know that the Guard has made significant progress in uncovering the culprit behind the Friendship Day bombing. Excellent, I knew you'd come through. Just doing my duty, sir. Titus handed me a large file, its contents nearly overflowing. While surveilling Quintus Gorka, the Su Omnia member linked to Terror Growth Agrochem, we discovered a mundane connection. One evening, a Rizian operative engaged Gorka in casual conversation over drinks at a local tavern in Iza. To our surprise, he unwittingly confessed to being blackmailed over an affair with bloodish migrant from Wayland. How interesting. Oh, just wait. This is where it gets interesting. The blackmailer threatened to expose the affair unless Gorka provided him with a specific fertilizer which had yet to be put on the market. It goes without saying that given Su Omnia's strong dislike for the Bloods, this posed a significant dilemma for him. It just so happens that the residue found at the bombing site matches the materials produced at Terra Growth Agrochem. Who is the puppet master? An elusive figure named Hector Ramiro, well known within the intelligence community as a spy. From Lesbia. His revelation sent a chill down my spine. For years, he has been stationed at our consulate in Zeal, officially holding the position of a political officer. A cover, of course. He has diplomatic immunity, meaning we've been unable to bring him in for questioning. However, the evidence gives us serious reason to believe that Lesbia was involved in arranging the Zeal incident. A hush fell over the room as I absorbed this news. Lesbia, why am I not surprised? It goes without saying that the implications are deeply concerning. That's why I need to tell you about this at once regarding why they would do such a thing. If I were to venture to guess, I'd say the bombing was meant to sow discord between Rizzi and Wayland as a means of destabilization. It gives Schmolak the justification to cling to Zeal. Titus nodded. Now the question is, how will this affect Zeal's reunification and our relationship with Lesbia? Weshik Intelligence has no idea that this evidence was surfaced. Of course, my first impulse will be to advise you to divulge it. Proving Rizzi's innocence will certainly help clinch the return of Zeal. On the other hand, the evidence against Lesbia could also serve as useful leverage. I like the idea. We can get Zeal back through other means anyway. Well, let's first have a look at our current standing with President Schmolak. Here's where we are regarding the progress in Zeal's return, Your Majesty. I don't know much about your agreement beyond the security-related terms. We are upholding the border ban you agreed on. Seems like we're continuing to uphold the rights of Weshik citizens in Rizia, and I believe we are on track to meet the terms set in our agreement 3 years ago, but you would know best. Going public with Lesbia evidence will be good insurance even if it's not strictly needed. Thought for a moment about what to do. We cannot let this evidence get out. I don't want to risk disrupting relationship with Lesbia. Understood, Your Majesty. With all that in mind, I suggest we review our contingency plan for getting Zeal back should our agreement fail. Agreed. Let us explore our options. The way I see it, we can opt for a diplomatic route, or circumstances demand take a more proactive strategy. So we go the diplomatic approach. Thoughts? As it stands, demand for Zeal peaceful unification has grown only slightly since the Friendship Day incident. If we want to put more pressure on Smolak regime without resorting to violence, we could increase funding for the Ariana Taurus Association, furthering the advocacy for Rizian's values, could rally public support in the case of reunification referendum. People tend to value having a say in their shaping their own destiny. Hello, Zeal, what's up? We should keep the ATA in mind. Regarding the ATA, their administration costs are high. Increasing their funding might give us the push we need. Less than diplomatic alternatives look like. Titus nodded. Thanks to your efforts, the armed resistance movement in Zeal is gaining momentum. This close to a handover date would be unwise. My counselor gave a short nod of affirmation. Your thoughts, Your Majesty? I suggest we wait. Wayland's responsible for determining our course of action. Titus acknowledged with a respectful nod. You've given me a lot to think about. Handling the intricacies of the Zeal situation has indeed been quite challenging, to say the least. I am confident that we will reach a solution that aligns the best with Rizia. With meeting adjourned, Titus saw himself out. As the doors closed behind him, I sank into my chair, my mind heavy with the weight of the discussions. The intricacies of the Zeal situation presented formidable challenges, and I found myself wrestling with the complexities of the diplomatic terrain that lay ahead. Wow. Entire national fund to buy fish. They should have a... On the national stage, they should have a... The Baroness of Sorceress or Marcanissa should just be like a penguin kingdom, and then you can just eat fish. RPP held emergency meeting to elect their new leader. Who'd they pick? Did they pick anybody? I don't know. I guess still nobody? Embarrassing. Average industrial production capacity. Average living standards. RPP leadership in disarray as party prepares for internal election. Yikes. Anticipation and anxiety mount as Zeal's transfer of governance nears. Agreed. We, of course, are investing in a pharmaceutical. With the industry on the cusp of significant breakthrough, we stand at a pivotal moment to invest in a new, high-potential sector. This initiative aims to kickstart a massive industry and create countless jobs, leveraging the groundwork already laid. Any new expansion of a sector represents unique opportunities for economic growth and technological advancement. Pharmaceutical me. 4 budget is crazy. Crown announces expansion of the pharmaceutical industry. That is massive rise in new businesses. Good living standards. Wow, what a turnaround. Jesus. One fish-eating Arctic animal that's way better than a penguin. A seal! They should have a seal kingdom out there in the middle of the ocean. A banana! I actually went to the aquarium today, this morning. I saw some harbor seals. Does that count, seal? I saw some harbor seals and some sea lions. Some sea otters. Some river otters. Alright. Invest in Farm and Dome. When you meet with Alvarez, leave the document reveal for last. First we tell him we're still thinking about the mitts. After that we want to sell the island for 5 budget. After that we want to buy 2 energy to 2 budget. And only after all this we reveal the information. We will trade Rusty for the info. Upgrade the military production lines. The kingdom's recently built modern military factories offer solid foundation to scale up production of land and air units. An expansion would enable the kingdom to strengthen its position, either by preparing for potential conflicts or by establishing itself as a competitive player in the international arms market. We will skip that one. Rusty loans repayment approach. A reminder. We will arrange our coffers. Massive rally demanding reform. During the week, the Rizian People's Party and various left-wing organizations organized large-scale rallies in all major cities in Rizia, resulting in mass attendance from the public. Hundreds of thousands are demanding to be given the right to elect their political leaders and influence Rizian policy. The rallies have been peaceful and are being held in support of the RPP. Calls for an end to the absolute rule of the Taurus dynasty. The Rizian intelligence suspect these rallies to be the largest public gathering since the 26th uprising. They relayed their worries about the movement growing more radical. Tourism revenue declines amid nationwide security concerned. Thousands demand an end to the absolutist rule. Disgraceful display, so to let us radical rally stirs division in the capital. A diplomatic meeting with Lesbia. Confederacy of Venonesium wins the civil war. The return of my troops. Welcome back. Ceremony for returning veterans. Prince Consort reign secured. Troops return home. Republic of Lesbia. You saw Hogan, Casey flounder at the Seattle Aquarium? That's right, Seal. How did you know? Yeah, I think flounder is the newest one. I saw him swimming around. I didn't pay much attention because I used the opportunity to bring somebody into the union I'm helping organize, but I had fun nonetheless. Diplomatic meeting with this Lesbia. I will save this diplomatic meeting for later, dude. That ugh. That's gonna be a big one. God, that's rough. How far away are we? We're on turn 8, turn 9, turn 10. We're 2 turns away from the end of the game. Wow, look at us. I'm so ready for the next country. Look how big Rumburg is as a country, man. It's interesting how all this takes place in Eastern Mercopa. I'm wondering if the next country will also be in Eastern Mercopa. Flounder is a wonderful boy who you should go see again at some point. It's very funny. One of my coworkers has a yearly unlimited pass for the aquarium, and I've just been borrowing their tickets because they aren't using them to go to the aquarium. I should go more often for sure. All right, everybody. I think I'm gonna be taking off for the night. I think I will see everybody tomorrow evening for some Team Fortress 2. Until then, everybody. Bye bye, Johnny.